Welcome to One Long Conversation. I'm Sonia.
And I'm Colby.
This is a podcast about spiritual awakening.
Yeah, and through that we talk about art, culture, conscious parenting, and healing yourself so you can express and freely share your unique perspective with this world.
This is a fun and informative conversation that we have daily, and we're sharing it with you.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome to our new studio for One Long Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We just moved into a house.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't lived in a house together in many moons. And I put a backdrop up, but it's higher than what the camera can pick up. But it's higher because the cats will use it as their art canvas, which they already have. So this is just the beginning of our new space. And as I was sharing with Colby, now we match our thumbnail.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it, honestly.
All right. We're going to get on with it because we're probably going to get interrupted by somebody inspecting windows here.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing part 3 of Diet. What did we name it again?
Diet of the Signs.
Diet of the Signs? Or was it
Something
Diet
like
of the
that.
Zodiac?
Diet of the Signs or Diet of the Zodiac.
Okay,
It doesn't really
one
matter.
or the other.
You get the gist.
I'm so Virgo with the details, and you're so Aries. You're like, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't
matter.
We're talking about how diet relates to each zodiacal archetype, kind of examining them as character archetypes and looking at, like, if they were looked at that way, what it is that they would eat.
Yes. And third one, I made a disclaimer on the first two. This isn't medical advice. This isn't actual nutrition advice individually. If you want to know what is the optimal diet for you, first of all, listen to your body. And second of all, if you want help with that, just book an online healing session with me. And I can help you with that, with actual nutrition and actual movement and actual cleansing and all of that. But anyway, this is fun. And we were asked by one of our listeners to do this because it's fun and it's interesting and it helps you to dive more deeply into who you are. So I wanted to share that. Okay, so we are now doing the last 4, and now we're clear.
The last 4, yes.
Sagittarius.
Yeah. Yeah.
Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. There we are, the last 4. So the last 4 signs are about what you are offering to humanity. That is literally the essence of all 3 of those archetypes. The first 3 are about learning about the self, the I am, in all the aspects of being human, by the way. And then the second 4 are about myself in relation to another, the mirror reflection back. And then the last 4 are about the collective consciousness and humanity. And as the soul travels through the archetypes, you'll find out when you look in your chart, you'll find out where you're at in a cycle because we constantly cycle. So where you're at in the zodiac is about what it is that you're learning about yourself. So let's dive into Sag.
Yeah.
Sagittarius. Sag needs to move. Sag is the mover. Sag is the athlete. Sag is long distance travel. Sag is I speak my truth and my philosophy. I would say that meals need to be really potent for Sagittarius. They need to pack a nutritionally dense punch because Sag doesn't have a whole lot of time to be eating unless you have a lot of Taurus in your chart or Capricorn. The fire signs don't want to spend as much time eating as they want to spend more time getting their point across. Sag wants to get their point across. So Sag's food is really more information and then relaying that information.
And I feel
because it's
like
the opposite of Gemini.
For Aries and Leo, for example, like those are the more carnivorous out of like all the signs.
Totally.
Because they're going to be the ones who are attracted to the sort of, I mean, I see this especially in Aries or Leo men where you're drawn to sort of like the building of the body. You're drawn to like the power that is packed into all of that meat. And
they're super protein focused.
I guess I do see some of the similar things in Sag, but I just haven't been around enough Sag to really
I've been around
understand.
a lot of Sag. I would say that every single Sag that I have met outside of any like vegan potlucks, raw plant-based potlucks, I haven't met a whole lot of plant-based Sages. Sages have a tendency to want to be paleo and keto and carnivore.
Well, Sag is knowledge driven, so Sag is always looking to gain more insight into more different things. And I mean, there's always a philosophy that's behind it. There's always some sort of driving like energy of the psyche that says, hey, I want to do this thing for these reasons. I think that there is a good justification for Sag and veganism. And I say that from a mental standpoint. I've met more Sag women who are attracted to veganism. I haven't really met as many Sag men, so there's just not as, I say that in general. I just haven't met as many Sag men in general, so I don't really have as much of like a good basis for that. But as far as veganism goes, I've met a lot of Sag women who are hardcore vegans, advocates for animal rights all the way, strong veganism.
I have probably met equal, and I'm also talking about people who have Sagittarius rising and moon in Sagittarius. I have a tendency to attract women with moon in Sagittarius. Dana, who's listening to this, my friend Dana. Sorry, Dana, your moon in Aries, your Sag rising. I always mix that up. Sorry, Dana. Dana being a sun and moon in Aries and a Sag rising, but Dana's plant-based. And I would say that the women, I would agree with that. The women that I know that have sun rising or moon in Sagittarius are definitely more plant-based focused. I would say in my 20s, I knew more males who were sun and moon in Sag, who had no interest in even sitting down to eat a lot anyway. I met them at dance studios. They were dancers when I was back as a dancer. And they literally just like crammed a sandwich down their mouth so they could go back and move and talk with people. I have never known Sages to want to eat a lot. I have never known a Sag who's really into food unless they're like one of my clients in Mexico City who's a Taurus with Sag rising, and the Taurus loves the food. So that's why I say a Sag who has a lot of earth in your chart, you're going to be more food focused. Sages who have a lot of fire seem to be more driven with career, art, creation, people, travel. It's a big thing. That's what I see for Sag. So I would say for Sag, you need to follow that, like eating small meals. I feel like Sag, again, needs to get grounded, though, in order to get that information down and out through the throat. So I'm always going to go with ground food, ground plants for Sag. I think Sag would do beautifully on a lot of dark leafy greens, like lots of dark leafy greens and salads. I think that would be really optimal for Sag. And like berries to open up the throat for that kind of color, so that you can speak your truth more easily, so you're more confident, because young Sages aren't confident with speaking their truth. And then they can have a lot of throat issues. And so berries.
Or they can overexert.
Or they can overcompensate. It depends on if they have a Mercury in Sag or not. And I find that Sages with a water Mercury sometimes lack some confidence in speaking, and Sages with that Mercury in Sag, because with a Sag, you're only going to be able to have Mercury in Capricorn, Sagittarius, or Scorpio. That's all you're going to be able to have.
The overarching point of these four signs, correct me if I'm wrong, this is about what it is that you bring to humanity?
This is about what you're bringing to the collective consciousness, to humanity, yes.
Yeah, so for Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, that's the overarching theme.
Yeah, that's how can I give this to others?
I suppose I have, when it would come to like my idea for Sag and diet, I suppose I have a more like forgiving mindset. I would say that what is the point of Sag? You know, if you're embodying that archetype, or that, what is that archetype here to learn? And I think that archetype is here to try as many things as possible so they can learn what the philosophy is.
Sagittarius also does really well, because they're going to be doing long distance travel, is to, when you get to the country that you're in, Stick with what locals eat and the indigenous cuisine, and don't go for the tourist garbage, which is always going to be standard American diet.
Yeah.
So don't eat at airports, and don't eat at convenience stores, which is going to be really easy, especially if you go to Asia. It's going to be really easy to go to 7-Eleven and eat all that garbage.
I would say just don't eat like, garbage processed
Eat
food
natural,
in general.
and when you arrive at the country that you've landed in, eat local.
And I feel like Sagittarius is, in every example I've met and seen, is naturally attracted to the authenticity of whatever rawness is being consumed by the people who are native to whatever land it is that they're visiting, So I feel like it's not necessarily hard. I haven't met every Sag in the world. I've only met a few, but the ones that I have met that are out there traveling, that are out there really pursuing this identity of philosophy, really trying to figure out, because that's the whole point, is Sag is trying to figure out what is true and what is real. That way I can tell everybody else,
Yep.
So in order to get to the realness and the rawness, it's like every
your food
Sag
has to reflect that.
Absolutely. It's got to be
your
real
food
and
has
raw.
to reflect that. Okay. Capricorn. It's easy for me to talk about Capricorn. It's my moon sign. Capricorn, you can spend too much time building a meal.
Interesting.
That was my problem when I was a teenager and I started cooking for myself. Too much time trying to control the kitchen. This is a problem with Taurus as well. Virgo doesn't have this. Virgo just wants to clean. But Capricorn spends too much time trying to own the food, own the kitchen. I built this. This is my wealth. Capricorn does better eating with family at family meals. Oh, it's because that's the whole wealth. And this is my family, and this is the community. Capricorn is all about the community. Capricorn is about my reputation. Capricorn is about my building. So Capricorn does really well having some spice. I used to do really well with spice before the Virgo took over and made me really too hypersensitive. But when I was in my teens and 20s, I loved spice, and man, it got me up and going. And Capricorn, I feel like, needs some of that. Needs some spice to get you out of, I'm too much building the foundation of the block. Capricorn also work, career. I work too much. Capricorn, you've got to literally schedule. You have to schedule meal times for yourself. Or if you're like, for me, I eat one meal a day. It has to be scheduled. Otherwise, you will work while you eat. I do. I work while I eat. And Capricorn really needs that time to sit. Half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, and eat. Put down your phone. Get into your food. Because all you're just going to do is look at your phone for work. Capricorn is a workaholic.
Yeah. I mean, I would almost wonder, would Capricorn do well as a grazer, given the fact that Capricorn is entirely based around productivity, and the more productive you can be, it seems like the more in a state of flow Capricorn would be. Does that not feel correct?
What happens with grazing, though, is that Capricorn will go for cheap and easy, fast, convenient, because Capricorn is not focused on food. Capricorn is focused on wealth, work, making money, and creating. I'm building community. I'm bought this land. I worked so hard to buy all this land, and now I'm bringing in all these people, and I'm delegating tasks. Capricorn is the task delegator.
So perhaps then it would be,
I'm not eating.
looking at your body as an extension of the work that you are building.
That's what I do. That's why I eat while I work. So that's why I say to Capricorn, it's going to be best for you to eat fresh fruit. Capricorn does really, really good with fresh fruit. Really good with fresh fruit. I would say out of all the signs, except for Virgo, Capricorn does really well with fresh fruit. Salads and something with a little bit of spice. Some really like cumin and cayenne pepper, black pepper. Don't go too spicy, Capricorn, but just something that's going to give you a little heat so that you have some incentive to get out of, I'm going to have 3 phones because I'm working. This is a phone for work. This is my phone for my family in my community, and this is just my personal phone. Capricorn forgets to have fun, and the upside of Capricorn is the practical joker. Capricorn is like, Charlie Chaplin does the pratfalls and all of that. That's the funniest aspect of Capricorn. And they can work so hard that they can forget to do that. They can work so hard they can forget to eat. So Capricorn should always have really good structured water with you all the time. Capricorn can forget to drink because you're working so hard. Capricorn needs to make sure that they're drinking really good fluid. Capricorn needs, if you're talking about grazing, fresh fruit. Some vegetables and hummus.
So
it's a
actually,
great thing for
given
Cappy.
everything that you're saying here, I'm forming sort of a picture of Capricorn. And so if we look at it from the top down, Capricorn is one of the 4 signs whose identity is constructed around what is it that I can bring to the collective.
My reputation and what I can give to you and my wealth,
so
my
Capricorn
building.
is extremely, and its reputation is something that's used frequently with it, but it seems to be it's less in relation to an egoic construct of reputation and more in relation to a construct of like, how well have I done to build a skill within myself that is very pleasing to me.
I've built a yoga reputation. And
I'm just very good at yoga. I excel at sports.
I'm good at yoga,
excel at skiing.
and I teach
excel
yoga.
At this.
And it's important to me. It's ethical.
So,
it's valued that people have an excellent class with me and an excellent experience every time they come to my class. So I am going to give my very best every single time, and I'm going to structure it. I'm going to schedule it. I'm going to give it an outline, and then I'm going to accommodate and make sure that they, you could think of Capricorn sometimes as the concierge of the hotel too. How can the host of the restaurant, how can I help you with this? How can I give you the best experience? My reputation is on the line.
So it seems as though Capricorn can therefore be very self-sacrificing.
Totally.
And
for the family.
For the family, exactly. Yeah. And so what I would say then is that the idea of Capricorn being a strong worker is not necessarily something that is native to Capricorn, but more so a symptom of work being necessary in order to achieve the things that Capricorn naturally is attuned to.
Capricorn is the mountain goat with the fishtail. It has to keep going up, up, up the mountain, but the fishtail makes it hard work to do so. So you're pulling, and as you're doing it, you're collecting things along the way, those that need help. Capricorn is always trying to provide and help others, and it's impeccable with its word. Capricorn has to be reliable to people. Reliability is key.
So I would say then, because another thing that Capricorn strongly values is knowledge.
Yes.
And because knowledge is a part of building that reputation within the self. It's not a reputation of, I look a certain way to others. It's a reputation of, how good am I? And so, therefore, if you're trying to build up that self, it seems to me that one of the common pitfalls, and this is what you're talking about, is that Capricorn can overlook the core building blocks of the self in order to just get everything out there for everybody else.
Capricorn can forget their own body sometimes in order to sacrifice for the community, the family, the reputation. So I have to work hard. I have to work until midnight and send out that email because I said I was going to do it, and I have to be reliable.
So the solution would then be to reframe the perspective from thinking about the self as lesser than the goal or than the family or the achievement, to then thinking about the self as a core and integral part of the goal, of the achievement, and therefore accumulating knowledge about how to build the self, reading books about nutrition, reading books about science and studies and philosophies and all of these things.
If that's going to make Capricorn money, then it will.
Yes, but the thing is that you find this, I mean, I go back to like, I believe he has a Capricorn stellium. I could be wrong, but Jeff Bezos.
Oh yeah, I don't know anything about his chart. I don't know anything about.
And his entire foundation of everything was built on books. So it's like, for him, Amazon was a bookstore.
I was going to say, he's Amazon, isn't he?
Yeah,
I remember that it was a bookstore.
Amazon was a bookstore.
I remember that.
He was just trying to sell books online.
I remember
That's
that.
it. And eventually, he accumulated so much other stuff as he was climbing up that mountain that it became the monolithic giant that it is today.
That's right. I read read about
But
that.
in doing so, he couldn't sacrifice completely himself.
Yeah.
Obviously, as I'm sure he learned along the way, as most people do one way or another, but I'm analyzing him through a Capricornian lens, to look at this perspective of being sort of this slow upward climb to get to where it is that he got to. And it's something that is always talked about from people who are like this, where it's like, I just need to be accumulating more knowledge so I can build myself up, so I can get better and better and better at doing what it is that I'm doing, so I can keep the ship going for everybody else.
So I'm sure that Jeff Bezos is probably just grazing here and there. Maybe he'll have a big meal at the dinner time.
Maybe. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is less like the meals specifically, and just more so that if there are Capricorns that are self-sacrificing and noticing bodily issues, health issues arise as a result of not putting the necessary effort into themselves, either because they view it as secondary to the goal that they're trying to achieve, or secondary to what it is that they have to give to the family, or it's basically secondaries to the haves. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that. Then reframing the perspective and looking at the body as a skill that you can build to then help you achieve all those other things, that seems like the mindset that I would tune into if I was that type of person.
For me, with the mindset of Moon in Capricorn, and then remember I have a Gemini stellium in the 10th house, which is the Capricorn house. I eat because my body requires it. I have to. And I've learned to compromise with my body. Because I'm busy building. So, and I was born this way. I literally was busy playing. Why did I have to go to the bathroom? Why do I have to go eat? I'm busy. I'm playing, I'm learning, I'm building. And it was like the body was saying, because this is necessary if you want to stay in it. Okay, fine. I'll take a food break. I'll only eat what I absolutely have to, because there's I have to go out and serve these people. I have to help these people. So remember, all the earth signs really want to give. Earth is very giving. Earth is very generous. Taurus wants to give through food and through money. Virgo wants to give through health and service and cleaning and doing the tasks. And Capricorn wants to give through community and through building wealth and reputation and serving community in a way that's going to help everybody to stay together and cohesive. That's all the earth signs. So the food has to support that. Okay, now this is going to be easy for you. Aquarius.
I don't know if it is, to be honest with you. I don't know if it is easy.
I find Aquarius love, number one, a variety of food. Aquarius will need to change up their diet from time to time. Aquarius always need to be introduced to new food. I don't know if you remembered this when we lived in Portland, when you were growing up, especially when I became a yoga teacher at People's Food Co-op in Southeast Portland. And we would go in like once a month in school, during school season, and I would bring you guys into the produce section, and you get to pick one different vegetable that you were attracted to. And you would always go for something really unique and cool and spicy.
Yes.
And then summertime, it was once a week when all of the fresh fruits and vegetables, pick a new fruit, pick a new vegetable. Sometimes you wanted to go into what I call the apothecary, which was the herbal and spice area, and you wanted to pick a new spice because they had this wide variety of different peppers in there. So we did that for you, spices and herbs and things like that, because I wanted to introduce you to a wide variety of the plant kingdom, but I also wanted to honor your Aquarius of wanting to have something new and unique. And you picked starfruit one time from Japan and it didn't taste very good. You weren't really thrilled with the taste. You just thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was so unique. That's what I feel like would really motivate Aquarius, is to go to the produce section or go to a gardening center with a bunch of unique seeds if you have a garden, and pick something different.
I mean, I will say for those who don't know, I have Sun in Aquarius, which is not a strong placement on its own. I have Mercury and Venus in Aquarius. I have Uranus in Aquarius.
And Jupiter
in Aquarius.
All in the Aquarius house.
In the 11th house.
And Aquarius rules that house for you.
So
you're Aries rising.
I have Sun and Aquarius aside. Aquarius is one of my big chart rulers, and I have. Would we count Aries rising as a chart ruler? Is the rising always a chart ruler?
The rising sign So Mars rules Aries, and so that is the ruler of your chart, but the sub-ruler of your chart in traditional astrology is also Mars. Sorry, Saturn, my bad. And then in contemporary astrology, Uranus. And it just depends on what you resonate with.
So, but I mean, I also have Moon in Cancer. So I'm saying that those are my big, like.
And that would also be a sub-ruler. Not all astrologers agree with that. That's something that I have definitely studied over the decades is, okay, who sees, I learned that if you have a sign, if you have a planet that is ruling its home sign, it is a sub-ruler of your chart because it's very strong. And so I learned that from multiple astrologers decades ago. I might have lived in LA at the time when I learned that. And so I kind of went with that. And then when I really dived, I took a break from studying astrology. Then I came back into it when you were born, after you were born, and I was really looking at your chart. And that's when I finally really like it caught on for me. Oh, the rising sign that, you know, that planet is the ruler of your chart. Mercury rules my chart, period. I don't have a planet in its home sign in my chart. You do.
Yeah.
So that's a sub-ruler.
So basically I just wanted to give context to like what my perspective is, and I think I can only really go off of my perspective. I will also try to think of other Aquarians that I've met. But yes, if we are analyzing Aquarius as just a character archetype alone, yes, it is the unique thing. I personally cannot fathom being somebody who only eats like white bread, chicken, and rice day in, day out.
Well, you never have, so you wouldn't know that.
No, I mean, like, I can empathize and put myself in that person's shoes, and even then, it is still, like, that is the most horrifying diet that I could possibly imagine, because there's no flavor, there's nothing unique, there's nothing interesting. I have to go for something that I've never tried before, and every time I look for, like, food, if I'm at, like, a restaurant and I'm looking at a menu, I will always go to the thing that I have never tried before that catches my eye, that looks like the most weird or unique thing on the menu.
Part of that is because that's the way I raised you. But number two, it's also a part of your personality makeup. I've known more female Aquarians than male Aquarians. And I've known female Aquarians to do weird food combinations, eat food from other countries that it seems strange. They go to another country, they're attracted to the odd shape. Oh, there's a company called the Misfits Produce Company. They used to advertise on social media. It's misshapen potatoes and fruits and vegetables. And I know a couple of women Aquarians who have an account with them, and they're like, oh my gosh, like the Misfits fruits and vegetables are like the most interesting for me. I'm so motivated to eat this. Trying a new recipe once a week is a very Aquarian thing. Aquarians, again, definitely need to be getting into some root vegetables, stews, soups, chilies, and stuff like that. Because if you're eating all the airy, snacky food, you are so stuck up in your head.
Yes.
You got to get into your body. And if you don't have strong earth, you won't be able to.
I have definitely felt the same thing. A lot of the foods that I eat nowadays are not as spicy as they used to be, not as like crispy. Although, whenever I get into areas where I feel emotionally turbulent, I do go for like the crispy snack foods. Chips is like my biggest thing. Chips are like, if I could pick one snack food that I could have all the time for the rest of my life,
like chips and salsa,
it would be chips. Not even salsa, just chips. Just chips. The chips are like my favorite snack ever created.
That's an air sign thing.
Tremendously.
It used to be my go-to junk food was chips.
Yeah.
Anything
and
fried,
if
crispy,
you eat
salty.
I could eat a whole bag of chips, and I do regularly. Sometimes I'll eat 2 bags of chips. And yeah, I feel pretty frazzled after that. I feel pretty like,
I know.
and
I do too.
And it's you got to accompany that if you have like super strong air, I feel from my own experience with some strong grounding foods. I eat a lot of sweet potatoes. I eat a lot of greens. I eat broccoli. I eat a lot of pitta foods because that really helps me, I feel, with my drive and motivation. Because another thing for Aquarius is we can detach ourselves very easily. So naturally, Aquarius is the monk. Aquarius is the one who doesn't really need to eat much at all. Aquarius can sit and meditate for hours and just kind of exist on that. And Aquarius will, when confronted with an issue, detach from the issue rather than solve the issue.
Aquarius would be great in the garden. Just pick and eat, dream, pick directly.
Because Aquarius does not care about the self. And we talked about this before. Aquarius is not a self-identifier. Aquarius sun is the weakest sign for the sun because the Aquarius sun is a disconnection from the sun. It's a disconnection from the self. And, and we look to the rising sign really for like the body self. But when it comes to a lot of times what we consider to be like the personality, if we're looking at like, why is it that ego is so strongly associated with the sun? Why is it that Leo's sun is its strongest placement? Why is it that Leo, the embodiment of kind of the regal I am, the egoic I am, why is that strong in the sun? Well, it's because that is the sun. The sun gives of itself.
But Aquarius is the opposite.
Is the shadow of the sun. It doesn't see itself.
So Aquarius needs to be stimulated to get into the body by unique, strange, interesting foods.
Aquarius will fly and float and try a billion different things, but I would say if Aquarius struggles with diet, Aquarius needs to find a reason outside of the self to get into the diet. Supporting a humanitarian cause is the number one way to do that. Working on a farm is a great way to do that. Working in an environment or being with people who are humanitarily driven, that is going to do a lot. So working with a collective, and the collective all eats like the same things and they all grow their own food and stuff. That's number one. And this is why I also find that veganism is a very strong attraction for Aquarians.
Very much
because
so.
There's a humanitarian identity that you can associate yourself with that's very easy to connect to, because Aquarians and animals are like peas in a pod. They get along like no tomorrow. And it's very, very easy for an Aquarian to just say, oh, it's not even about me. It's about the animals. And there you go.
I love the whole Aquarius living on a farm and being on the farm and then, bringing it to the farmer's market. And selling it at the farmer's market and connecting with people and sharing your ideas. I agree with all of that. I've noticed that in you. I've noticed that in the few Aquarians that I've known that I've been connected to in the past. Last one. Pisces. Watch the water. Please don't drink alcohol, Pisces. God. Pisces is the alcoholic.
Oh my God.
No alcohol. Structured water.
So what is tea. Pisces, right?
Pisces is really in so when Pisces is in the lower self and the ego, it's water. And this is literally Kaipacha Lesher who talks about this. And I actually agree with him on this. He talks about in the higher self, when the higher self comes into the body for Pisces, when Pisces has transcended the ancestral pain and the wounds and finally has gone into the higher self, into the body, and has found the humor in life, because it's the accumulation of all the other 11 archetypes, then Pisces becomes the ether element. And so Pisces has to go through the feeling to find this, through the emotions to find this, through the pain to find this. And what's going to help Pisces with that? Anything that's soothing. Pisces needs to eat soothing food. My friend in soul family, Sandy, she has found that one of her best breakfasts, she just shared this with me, I've been helping her to get more plant-based, is a chia seed cashew milk pudding. She makes it herself. Super soothing. I think Pisces was really great with like natural puddings with nut milks. Nut milk. They do well with soups and stews. Pisces does really well with salads. Pisces is going to do great with seafood, and I'm not talking fish and crustaceans. Sea vegetables, something that's going to get them connected to the ocean. Pisces is about the ocean. They're the fish swimming in opposite directions. Internal conflict, which Which way is the way? Do I go up or do I come down? Is I feeling everything? Pisces would do well eating near water. Pisces needs to end the day with water, little water fountain, in the bath, whatever. Sorting through the emotions of the day. Pisces doesn't need to sort through the thoughts. Pisces needs to sort through the emotions. So Pisces needs to eat food that's going to bring them connected, help them to be connected to the ocean. And Pisces can eat too much. Careful with that. Careful with, I mean, all signs be careful with eating too much, but like the fire signs can get away with that. Mm-hmm. Pisces can't get away with that.
Because they're more likely to work
it off.
Yeah.
But Pisces can't do that. Pisces has to eat a little bit smaller, make sure that your food is soothing to your emotions, because Pisces is so sensitive. If you have food allergies, this is the first thing I'm going to say to you, Pisces, and I've said it to my Pisces clients and friends before. The anti-inflammatory diet. Look it up. I'm not going to state the list here because that's not what this is about, but look it up. And because Pisces can get inflamed really easily because Pisces is so sensitive.
Yeah, Pisces is extremely sensitive. And I feel as though really the helpful component is more so removing the foods that exacerbate instability and negativity within the mind and body, or destabilization within the mind and body. So an anti-inflammatory diet does make a lot of sense, and there are a lot of inflammatory things that we are exposed to on a regular basis. A lot of gluten, and a lot of them are based in sugar and
soy, corn, dairy, blah, 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 blah.
Alcohol is literally just a poison, and it's like, why are we really attracted to a lot of these things? So these are very high sugar foods.
They're
all
starch,
of them. I mean, that's like the one thing that they have in common is they're extremely high in sugar, or foods that are extremely high in carbs will give you that big burst of energy.
It's the same thing.
Followed by a sudden decrease. So it's
the
like
same thing.
It's like the short-term like dopaminergic pleasure that comes from that. All of those things, they're all addictive in the exact same way. It can be very easy for all water signs, but Pisces being the most sensitive, to
it's
be
just hard.
Very like attracted to that very quick relief, without understanding that very quick relief leads to a long period of extreme down.
Yeah, Pisces can definitely get caught up in a lot of sweets, baked goods, going to the bakery, a lot of sugar, a lot of candied stuff, a lot of creamy. I mean, I've heard this I've had a lot of Pisces in my life because it rules my 7th house. I've attracted a lot of men as Pisces, and I find that the number one problem is everything that we just stated. So Pisces, you need to give yourself the really healthy food first. I tell this to everybody. Eat the good stuff first, fill up your stomach, and then if your ego is still asking for something that's junky and sweet, then have a little bit of that, because then you won't be hungry for it, or you'll just lose your appetite for that altogether because your stomach will be filled up with the good stuff. So for Pisces, anything that's going to bring you closer to the ocean and closer to water in your food is optimal. You're going to feel supported. You're going to feel like you're in the healing process. You're going to feel much better. That's what I say with Pisces altogether. And another thing especially for Pisces with addiction, stop judging yourself. Stop condemning yourself. Everybody with addiction, but especially Pisces, because Pisces is the archetype of the addict. Do not judge yourself for any addiction. That's our biggest downfall. Accept and love your addiction. It's the way to transform. It's how I've transformed my addictions, is to learn to love them and accept them. I used to have an ice chewing addiction. Your entire life I chewed ice. I've been chewing ice since I was 2. Yeah. When the first time I had it in my cola, and I didn't even like the cola, I just liked the ice. Yeah. How did I finally transform a decades-long addiction? It's hurt my teeth. It hurt my digestive system. Chewing ice, accepting it and loving it. And like, okay, I totally accept. I've got this frustration. And then I completely lost interest in chewing ice. That's how I kicked alcoholism as a teenager. I finally just accepted it. And I said, I'm an alcoholic. And I lost all my interest. in drinking alcohol because I hated what it did for me. I hated all of it. And so I was like, okay, I accept this. I learned long ago, accept and love your addictions. They're a part of the human experience. So that's the advice that I give, especially to Pisces.
There's a beautiful thing that I learned from Buddhist monks, which is when you are faced with addiction and you feel the urge come up to engage in something that you view as addictive, instead of condemning it or trying to get away from it, do it, but just be present the entire time and observe how it is that you feel and what your thoughts are and everything that goes on in the process of engaging in that addiction. Because one of the reasons why people continue to engage in addiction is because it is an unconscious, automatic behavior. And
they're also judging it.
The consciousness comes in afterwards. The judgment comes in afterwards to say, this is wrong. I shouldn't have done that. And really what it is that you're looking for is you're just looking for the awareness to be present when it is that you're doing those things, which, may seem strange, but it honestly changes everything. When you are given with the choice, you just don't want to feel powerless is all. And if you're feeling powerless, it's because you're not present in the process of whatever behavior it is that you're doing. Some behaviors can cause a state of mindlessness to occur more easily. For example, it's a lot harder for a meth addict to get off meth because taking meth is like so brain changing that it's really hard to be present the entire time that you're doing it. Very, very difficult. That takes extreme concentration, which is why in order to get off of those substances, a lot of people have just given up themselves to a greater power, a God, and said, it's not even in my control. Let me give it to something else. Because a lot of times it's the only way to break that ego that is so rote into the same routine that it's just doing it over and over and over and over again, But if it's something like a food or it's something like, like smoking cannabis or something like that, or drinking alcohol, these do have drastic effects on the brain, and there's different levels of addiction. But the most important part is to not judge yourself, forgive yourself in the process. And the process of forgiveness comes with really meditating in each of those acts, especially the precipice right before you are about to engage in the act. Be very, very present and pause and be like, what am I feeling right now? And really give yourself the space to decide. Even if you decide to do it still, then you decided to do it. You weren't powerless, because it's the illusion of powerlessness. It's the illusion that I'm not making the choice to engage in it. It's not real. You are still doing it. You're still choosing it. It's just the mind wants to be present with you as you're doing it. So if you do that, this is how I quit pretty much all my addictions that I actually wanted to get over. And if I continued to engage in the addiction, it's because I was present with it and I decided that I still wanted to do it, and it wasn't harmful enough to the point of where it was causing me severe irreparable damage or immediate harm to where I had to stop it right then and there. So I decided that in the moment, and I was like, okay, I'm going to engage in this. And then if it made me feel bad still, I was like, why did it make me feel bad? And I went through the whole process of okay, what is it that I'm doing? And if it came down to something that it was as simple as oh, my ego just doesn't it's judging itself for doing this, well, then I'm like, okay, well, then that's what we need to fix. We need to stop feeling like this is a bad thing to be doing this, because clearly it's not. If it's not causing me any harm, it's not doing anything bad to me, and I've weighed out all the long-term and short-term things and this and that, then it's I'm the problem. That my ego, my construct of self is the problem. There have been a lot of other cases, when it came to alcohol. It's I drank alcohol. There's a process in the process of being drunk that is addictive, but all of the stuff that comes after is not. All of the throwing up and all of the nausea and the headache and the fogginess, that's very unattractive. So for me, being present in all of my actions leading up to and as best as possible during the course of being drunk, and then afterwards, it's okay, I'm weighing the pros and cons. The cons are way higher than the pros. So this is something I need to leave behind. I can't engage in this, but I'm not judging myself for doing that, because it's natural. These are just things. We're here to experience life. The best thing that you can do if you want to make a difference, if you want to change your behavior, is just be conscious of what it is that you're doing.
Thank you so much to everyone who listened to this week's episode of the podcast. Feel free to check us out on Instagram at One Long Conversation to get some updates on our future episodes, our future content. You can also follow us on Patreon and become a member. We have a lot of interesting and awesome perks and cool ways to connect with us and our community that we're forming there. So go over to Patreon at One Long Conversation, and you'll find us there. We also have these episodes going out on YouTube now. So if you go to YouTube, yet again, at One Long Conversation, you will find video versions of these episodes. So yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.